Hey everybody, it's Sally. Guess what I did today? I went to my very first ever plastic surgeon appointment to talk about reconstruction post weight loss, bariatric weight loss. And I had the appointment for about 3 weeks, and I've been getting I haven't mentioned it much. I was a little nervous about it. And I realized I was anxious about it this morning. It was not because I had to get naked, because that didn't seem to bother me at all. There's a lot of exhibitionist in me, I've decided. It was maybe a little anxiety over the sticker shock, that maybe I'm not really as knowledgeable on what I think it might cost. But really it wasn't that either, because you at least had some degree of understanding what things cost. But what I decided it really was I was afraid that I would be really disappointed that the things that I've held closest in my heart of hearts to want to be perfected or be bettered, to be the most normal I can be, are not possible. And I had a feeling that was going to be the case. And that's okay. So I got up, I got dressed, and I went. And it was a very good experience. I'm in the office and I'm waiting and I'm all dressed and people come and people go. And I pick up a magazine, and who do I see in that magazine but our very own Carrie, aka formerly known as Bariatric Barbie, and Yvonne North, who both write articles and are heavily quoted in the Obesity Helps magazine, which I'd never really picked one up of those either. And there they were in the office, and it just really made me feel good to look down and see friendly faces, people that I know, people that have wisdom, and they'd written some beautiful articles. It's funny how OH online seems so scary from all I've ever heard. Been very rarely, early days I would go, early days before I had surgery. And then I found you guys, and well, it's a whole other thing. But the magazine's really very good, and they were beautiful articles, and they encouraged me very much. And I looked at Carrie's warm, smiling face and said, "Oh, Carrie, I'm so glad you're here with me." And Yvonne, she had written a wonderful, just a really snippet of real wisdom in an article she had written, and I'd like to be able to find it online so I can cut and paste it myself. And it was about the grass is always greener. She says you need to come to a place where you realize the grass is green everywhere. And if you think the grass is always greener over the next fence, all you do is climb that fence and get to the other side, and then there's another fence. And you climb that and get to the other side, and there's another fence. Best to say, the grass is green everywhere, and all those fences fall down. Isn't that a great image? That's quite a wonderful word picture. So anyway, after that, I went in and met with Dr. Krager. He was a lovely man. We had a chit-chat. He said, "Okay, you can get on this robe, whatever, take off your clothes, leave on your panties." And he left the room, and I went, uh-oh, I don't have any panties on. I don't wear panties. Is that too much information? I wear, capri length, foundation-y, garment-y, compression garment things. I wear them every day. I always have. I wore them 150 pounds ago. I wore them 115 pounds ago. I've always worn them. They make me feel pulled together. They make my skin feel tight. And that reminds me that I am small and I do not need to eat too much. So anyway, he came back in and I said, "I tell you, I don't have any underwear." He said, "Oh, it's all right." I said, "Don't bother me if it doesn't bother you." I said, "Okay, no problem." So anyway, so we do the whole schmear, and he measured me up and down. I thought, well, this is an interesting thing. He's measuring from me here to here and here to here. I'm thinking, okay. It was very encouraging, and I wanted to tell you a few things I learned that I never knew. One of which was, he said, "You're very thin." Because I said, "Can you suck some of the fatty deposits out of this saddlebag?" as he was hoisting my saddlebag in his hand. I said, "Yeah, I know. I want to make sure that just never, ever comes back to that place. Can you make sure you suck it all out before you, whatever you don't cut off?" And he said, "There's no fat in there." He said, "That's skin." I said, "That can't be skin. How come the skin on my thigh is like this thick when you pinch 2 inches, and the skin on my little arm is like a nanosecond wide. I mean, there's nothing there. He says, it's just the kind of skin it is. I said, okay. So he said, you really don't have fat like you think you have fat in places. It's all skin. And he's, you know, so that was interesting. He says, really? And then he did my BMI. I hadn't done that in a while. He said, your BMI is like 21. You're fine. You're actually in a very good place to have surgery because you're not too big and you don't have a lot of excess stuff to bleed or whatever. He says, I said, how many pounds of skin are you going to cut off? I don't want to be 120 pounds. If you're going to cut off 10 pounds of skin, maybe do I need to eat something before we have the surgery? And he said, no. He says, you might have 3 or 4 pounds of skin on you to cut off. I was really disappointed. Where is this 10 pound of skin going to come off me? And it's not going to come off me. So anyway, that's fine too. But the good news is, because I'm as low as I am, he said, I can do things that I normally wouldn't do. I can do your lower body lift and your breast implants, augmentation and lift at the same time. He said, come back a different time for your brachioplasty if you're going to have one, which he says I should have one. You know, my arms aren't bothering me too much right now, but eventually they will. And they were the first thing I wanted done before. Isn't that funny? But they've shifted a lot, and they don't bother me like all this other stuff does. And the breasts are for my husband. So that's his present for me to him. I've never had any breasts. This is the other funny thing. If you're a person who's a pair and you've been small-breasted all your life and you're going to go have this done because there's really nothing left but empty socks, and as that is like an empty, I won't even say, what's the smallest sock you can think of? But anyway, it's not like a tube sock. It's really small. It's like those ones with no band that you put on with your tennis shoes. The ones with the little pom-pom balls on the back. Anyway, that's about all the breast tissue I have. He says, because you don't have a lot of breast, I don't know what he called it, ligature or something, or breast. I don't have a lot of empty space to fill up because there's not a lot of surface area to my breast, period. He says, you can't go really big. I said, what's really big? I wasn't looking for a double D. I said, I was thinking about a C. A C. A really big B, maybe, but a C. I've never even been a B, hardly. So, and I'm like a minus now. Anyway, I still am not sure about what I can do about that, but I'm really hoping for the best with that one. But the good news is I could have that all done at once. The good news is also that it's not as exorbitant as I thought it would be, being outside of the greater metro Washington, D.C. area. It's still not inexpensive, folks. It never is going to be. But I'm going to tell you what I've thought all along. This is no more than we would pay for a car that we pay for 5 years with interest. And what do we do at the end of that 5 years but trade that car in on something new? So I have to tell you quite honestly, this is the car I'm going to be in. This is the car I'm in all day, every day, 24/7. And I hope to God, knock wood, hope this is real wood, not just fake. That's real wood. I'll be in this car for another 40 years. And I want this car to be tweaked and running at maximum efficiency. And this car is worth purchasing. The cost for the lower body lift and the breast augmentation and the breast lift is $15,000 of the doctor services and 10 of the hospital. It's a whole nother animal when you add the hospital in there. I have that money from an inheritance I've been holding on to for a long time. And I earmarked it when I decided to have this gastric bypass. I went, you know, that money is going to go for this. And so this was my first opportunity. So that's the first part. If I do the second part, that's another chunk of change, simply because you've got the hospital involved again. If they could do all this at once, it would be better, but whatever. The inner thigh lift, if I'm not satisfied enough with what I get, okay. And the arms, if we do the arms are like $5,000. The inner thigh lift is like $4,000. And the hospital's like $6,000. So there you go again. You're up to like $15,000. I don't really have that put away. I don't have money saved up for that. That's a different kettle of fish. So I'm going to look around. This is a thing. I know what I've got here in my own backyard. I can stay in my own home and recuperate and be fine. If something goes wrong, he's right there, 20 minutes away. Those are things to consider. The frugal part of me wants to go south of the border down Mexico way, or see if there's not someone else in my own state that, because they're 3 hours south of DC or 4 hours south of DC, but still is in a really good area. I haven't found anybody yet. The prices might be a little less. You know, it's a 2 or 3 hour car ride home. You know, that's not the end of the world. So anyway, thought I would give you a scoop on my trip to the plastic surgeon. It was very enlightening, and I feel empowered to go forth with knowledge. Oh, and this is the book. He wrote a book. Bariatric Plastic Surgery, A Guide to Cosmetic Surgery After Weight Loss. Oh, and I also told him all about the WLFSA and the Vegas meet and greet, because the lady said I could have my surgery done in April, and I said, I want to wait until after the meet and greet because I might want to go with a guy in California, but I didn't want to tell her that. So, you know, I might not, but the point is I can wait till after Vegas. It's no big deal. And that's it. So that's where we go from here, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I had another big adventure right after that too, but I'll make a separate video because this is getting too long. But it's about me on the great hunt for the great green wheat, freekeh. It's the new superfood if you watch Dr. Oz or Oprah. And it's full of nutritious calcium and healthy stuff, and it's you have to really look for it because it's not in the States yet. Big in Australia, in like 3 Whole Foods up around New York, New Jersey, because the lady has stuck it in there who's got the franchise for the States. Nothing down here. You have to really look for a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern market. And I live in an area where there's a Middle Eastern market on every corner, and yet none of them are Mediterranean Middle Eastern markets. But anyway, it's freekeh. So I'm going to get my freekeh on. I'm going to make a video all about freekeh. And maybe I'll do that tomorrow in the light of day and show you my lentils I made today and make a batch of freekeh. I'll talk to you later. Bye.